All right, joining me now is Wisconsin Congressman Mike Gallagher, who's chair of the new House Select Committee on China. A very important assignment. Mike Gallagher, welcome. I want to talk, as you probably know, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen will be meeting this week with Liu He, who's kind of the top economics guy, vice premier of Communist China. I actually know him rather well from all the China trade talks during the Trump years. I want to ask you about this meeting, and I want to ask you if your committee is going to look into this meeting. There'll be a lot of discussions about export controls and technology and presumably tariffs. And let me ask you right at the top, what are you looking for? Have you spoken to Ms. Yellen or any of her people? But what are you expecting out of this?
Well, I haven't spoken to her, but there are at least two things lurking in the background that I think it's worth mentioning. One, I believe the latest numbers that came from the CCP about GDP growth last year were around 3% when their target was 5.5. So if you exclude COVID 2020, those are the lowest numbers since 1976. The second thing is that Xi just effectuated the biggest U-turn of his political career by relaxing zero COVID. So I think that should tell us that the CCP is in a precarious position. They fear their own people and should give us confidence whenever we sit in these rooms that you've been in, Larry. You know how aggressive the CCP can be. You know how hard of a bargain they can drive. Now is not the time, in my opinion, for us to back down. Now is the time for us to make sure that they're complying with any aspects of the Phase 1 agreement, that we're driving a hard bargain when it comes to intellectual property theft. And one thing more than anything else, because we can't segment the economic and financial aspects of this competition from the military or ideological, I would hope that Yellen communicates to her counterparts that any attempt by Xi Jinping to take Taiwan by force would be met with withering economic and financial weapons by the United States. That would make what we've done to the Russians look like, stealing small change in comparison.
It's interesting. On the backgrounders the Treasury is giving to Wall Street Journal and various other newspapers, I don't see a word of that, what you just talked about, being tough on Taiwan and how that would be met with unbelievable economic problems. What you're reading about is, all right, curbing export investment in China. So export controls, investment controls, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, a couple of other things, chips, semiconductors. Is that enough? And they're also saying, Mike, and I don't know what's right and what's not right. This is the backgrounders are reading about. Biotech, U.S. investment into Chinese biotech is going to be okay. U.S. investment into Chinese battery technology is going to be okay. And the Treasury Department does not want to suspend TikTok. So it sounds like a very dovish Treasury Department going into this.
Well, how can you exclude biotech when we've just seen what we've seen with the coronavirus pandemic, right? Where it's indisputable that there was collaboration between certain American entities or Western entities using American taxpayer dollars at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Now, I guess reasonable people can disagree about whether the pandemic came from there. I think it did, but that seems insane to me to continue that level of collaboration. We shouldn't be financing any Chinese biowarfare program. For battery technology, I have to assume that's, John Kerry, I was listening to you play some of what he said, sort of making the case that, in order to give everybody a Tesla and, solar panels on their roof, we need to make ourselves more dependent on certain subcomponent parts for battery technology that come from China, which is absolutely insane to me. So I do worry about the dovishness. I do think the next phase of this for congressional Republicans is to insist on some sensible controls when it comes to capital outflows from America to China. For example, I'm not convinced a university endowment, for example, needs to be investing in certain Chinese tech sectors that could facilitate surveillance, genocide, and Chinese military modernization. I think that's the next phase of this discussion.
I also am reading, and again, these are not my peeps, so I'm just looking at what's the backgrounders in the newspapers, that the Yellen Treasury Department is more than willing to look at ending some of the Trump tariffs. And, your point about Chinese economic weakness is the weakest they've looked in, I don't know, 3 or 4 decades, for heaven's sakes. Why don't we keep the pressure on? Why don't we keep those tariffs on? And all these things are related: export controls and onshoring versus offshoring investment. I mean, I'd keep the burner up. I wouldn't turn it down.
I totally agree with that. For no other reason than we shouldn't take their economic fragility or precariousness right now as a cause for complacency. There's a world in which this could actually make Xi Jinping more aggressive in the next 5 years. I sort of think from a military perspective, we've entered the window of maximum danger. Things might accelerate in 2024. We need to be very careful about what signal we are sending. And we want to be sending a signal of strength that gives us our best chance of deterring an invasion and thereby preventing World War III. And look to Ukraine to see how costly deterrence failures are right now. We don't want that to happen again. So we need to be projecting strength across the board in our relationship with China.
All right. Mike Gallagher, head of the new China Select Committee. Best of luck. We'll talk some more. Thanks very much.